Sunday, April 30th, 2023. A day that will live in infamy. It would be the first and last time that I ever barrack for the Collingwood Football Club in a game of football, or netball for that matter, ever again in my entire life. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the official EggFooty tipping competition round 8 predictions. Now don't let my monotone resting bitch voice fool you, I'm in a very good mood. I think this is the first week in this entire tipping competition where I've actually had a good week of tipping. I've got them up on the screen right now. I did very good. I got 8 out of 9. St Kilda being the only team that let me down. But yeah, shout out to the Collingwood Football Club and the Gold Coast Suns in the end there for clutching the wins and secure the 8 out of 9 tipping score for the week. That last Collingwood game was such an emotional roller coaster for me. And if you go back into the Discord server, you can go and have a look at my tantrum in real time. I was not having a good time until Steel Big Bottom kicked that point in the end. We got the top 10 up on screen right now. If you've managed to hold on to the top 10 for a few weeks now, well done. Shout out Nathan Fife in 7th place. I hope to see you back on the track soon, bro. As for me, thanks to my very good week of tipping, I've jumped up from 180th all the way up to the prestigious 144th. Pretty soon I'll be coming all over the top 10 like some sort of librarian, faster than you know it. And we're going to continue this campaign with my round 8 tips for next week. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, Friday night footy at Marvel Stadium, we've got Carlton Football Club taking on my Brisbane Lions. Now, obviously I've got to back my Brisbane Lions, however, this could go either way. It's a 51-49 split on the website in Carlton's favour, which I've never seen it so even before, truth be told. And no, Carlton are a good football side and Brisbane have some injuries. It's going to be interesting to see if Carlton can retain their form against North Melbourne. Charlie Curnow in particular. Hopefully Jack Payne can contain Charlie Curnow. He's been improving a lot in recent weeks. He's been getting solid game time. I've really liked watching him improve. And even though we have Zorko and Rich going out with injuries for 3 weeks, we do have a lot of depth. Our VFL side is undefeated after all. So even though Carlton are going to be very competitive, I think Brisbane are going to get up by about 10 to 15 points, but it could go either way. This one was very tricky. Next up, Saturday Arvo footy at the MCG, we've got Richmond taking on West Coast. Now, I was very comfortable in tipping Richmond to get up against West Coast. However, here's a little welcome to Damien Barrett sliding doors. If Richmond don't pull their finger out of their ass, then this game is going to be closer than most people think. They were absolutely arse against Gold Coast last week. And you could argue that it was match fixing all you want, but when you're kicking 6-12 in compared to 11-6, that is awful football. Richmond had no business losing this game, and yet they somehow found a way. If Richmond's training sessions this week aren't all goal kicking and set shot drills, I'm lost for words. It was absolutely shocking. And under the roof as well, which makes it even more ridiculous. There was no wind, conditions were literally perfect, and they still managed to kick 12 behinds to 6 goals. To put it in perspective, they were 2-9 at halftime. It was a terrible day to have eyes, but my second team, the Gold Coast Suns, got up, which is good. And as awful as Richmond were last week, I think they should have no trouble going up against West Coast. No matter how close it may be, West Coast are in trouble at the moment, and I don't see them getting up against Richmond. Another Saturday Arvo game at GMHBA Stadium, we've got Geelong taking on the Adelaide Crows. Now, Geelong are back. Tom Hawkins is back to his peak form. They are looking very dangerous. I am not looking forward to round 19. That's not going to be good. In any case, Adelaide, similar to Richmond, they kicked themselves out of the contest in the end, and it's at GMHBA Stadium. Geelong are flying. Adelaide suffered a devastating loss last week, and I don't mean devastating by they got flogged. I mean devastating as in, wow, we were winning for literally 99% of that game and we still lost type of devastating. And I think Geelong should have no trouble getting up against the Crows. Twilight game at Heritage Bank Stadium, we've got the Gold Coast Suns taking on Melbourne. Now, Melbourne were absolutely superb last week. I know it was North Melbourne, and you know North Melbourne are shit, but man, they really fucking destroyed them. And you know what's even funnier? Gold Coast will probably get a better home crowd this week than Melbourne did. Despite Gold Coast's attendance, I still think Melbourne's going to get up by about 20-30 points or so. As great as their win last week was for the Gold Coast Suns, I think they're going to struggle against Melbourne. And I think Melbourne, their team's full of premiership players. They're starting to find form again. They're second on the ladder. I think they should have no trouble getting up against the Suns. Next up, we got at Manuka Oval, we got GWS Giants taking on the Western Bulldogs. Now 70% of people on the website reckon the Bulldogs are going to get up, and I completely agree. I think the Bulldogs will get up by about 20 points. But you know, it was a tricky game to predict because they both had terrific wins last week. GWS came from behind and beat Sydney. Western Bulldogs hard-fought win against Hawthorn. The Doggies are only out of the top 8 on percentage, so they are a good football team. In GWS, I think they're starting to find some form. I think they're starting to come good, but I think despite all that, I think Western Bulldogs will just beat the Giants. Although I had a hard time tipping this game, it could go either way. Meanwhile, at Optus Stadium, we've got Fremantle taking on Hawthorn. Now, as much as both teams are struggling, as much as Fremantle got humiliated by my Lions last week, I think Fremantle are going to get up pretty comfortably. You know, there were patches at the Gabba last week. I watched it live. There were patches of some really good footy from Fremantle. They kept it reasonably close for a while there, and then the Lions eventually just ran away with it. And it's at Optus Stadium. It's their home ground. I think Fremantle have no business losing this game, although Hawthorn could very easily give them a good run for their money. Sunday afternoon footy at Adelaide Oval, we've got Port Adelaide taking on Essendon. Now, Port Adelaide are coming off a great win against the St Kilda, an upset win. It's at their home ground. Horn Francis is flying. He shouldn't have to worry about any boos considering it's a home game. If he's getting booed at a home game by the home crowd, then there's something really wrong. And on the other hand, Essendon came off a bad win against Geelong. Mind you, they did hold their own for a while. They did do okay. They weren't embarrassed. The margin made it look worse than it actually was for Essendon. I think they were better than most people think. They are capable of good footy. It's just a matter of which Essendon team shows up. Essendon at 3/4 time of the Anzac Day clash, or Essendon at full time of the Anzac Day clash. But you know, despite that, I think Port Adelaide should get up against Essendon when it's all said and done. Now at the MCG, we've got Collingwood taking on Sydney. Now Sydney and Brett Kirk got absolutely embarrassed last week against GWS, choking a multiple goal lead very, very late in the fourth quarter. And you know, Collingwood were able to clutch the 1v2 against Adelaide and the umpires. I think based on the form of both of these teams in recent weeks, I think I'm comfortable in tipping Collingwood to get up against Sydney. Collingwood came through for me in the tipping last week, and Sydney made me look like a fool, so I don't think I've fully forgiven Sydney just yet, and I'm going to continue to back Collingwood, I think. Finally, the clash of the century, the primetime thriller. Sunday afternoon at Marvel Stadium, we've got North Melbourne taking on St Kilda, and you know, poor North Melbourne, man. They were looking so good at the beginning of the year, and then it all came crashing down. Where did it all go so wrong? And on the other hand, St Kilda, they're coming off a loss against Port Adelaide last week. They shouldn't have lost that game, but they did. But they'll be looking to rebound. I think they'll get over the line against North Melbourne. They should. They very well fucking should. But, you know, North Melbourne, I think they'll put up a fight. First couple quarters, they'll be well within the game. And I think in the second half, St Kilda will run away with it and come away with the 4 points when it's all said and done. And there you have it. My round 8 predictions. Will I continue my terrific form? Will I fold like a lawn chair and completely collapse? There's only one way to find out. Big shout out to Sharksray and Big Mac Jon, our channel members. If you want to get a shout out from me in a YouTube video, make sure you get amongst channel memberships. Check out the tiers, check out the perks. Contribute to the channel if you can. I would greatly appreciate your support. And I'll see you tomorrow for the round review, and also on Thursday for an AFL 23 video. So get keen.